Tonight, a major break in the case of the murders of a St. Louis mother and her young daughter. The clues that led authorities to a town more than 2 hours away, and the connection to the arrest of a sheriff's deputy.
Frigid morning. We wake up to single-digit lows tomorrow, and again heading into the weekend. The weather impact alert days that will have you grabbing a few extra layers.
Tonight, St. Louis City residents feeling salty.
There was like a little tiny pile.
Tonight, the culprits city officials say caused 3 salt piles to melt away quickly.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, that shouldn't happen.
We're in a weather impact alert tonight. Another surge of Arctic air is moving into the bi-state, causing temperatures to tumble close to 0 overnight. Thanks for joining us for 5 on your side at 10. I'm Mike Bush.
And I'm Kelly Jackson. Weather Impact Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell's here tracking sub-zero wind chills for when you head out the door in the morning.
Yeah, I think we're looking once again, even though it's not overly windy, we'll be looking at those wind chills dropping back just below 0 because our temperatures, which tonight already have dropped off north of St. Louis, will continue dropping into the single digits before everything's said and done. We still have some clouds from St. Louis onto the south, and because of that, we're holding temperatures in the upper teens to lower 20s. Once those clouds shift south of town, you see what happens. Effingham's 3, Litchfield's 4, Alton's now dropped to 10. So has Salem in Illinois. Our temperatures will drop back overnight. The winds aren't especially strong and won't be tomorrow morning. But again, it doesn't take much to knock off those wind chills down below 0 when your temperatures are in the single digits. The cold weather advisories and the extreme cold warnings, they're all to our east for tomorrow morning. But Montgomery, Macoupin County, Bond, Fayette, Marion, and Clinton counties in Illinois, that's where you're going to have those wind chills later tonight and into tomorrow, running in that 0 to 15 degree below 0 range. Now, you look at the lows for the next few days. Yep, tomorrow morning's a cold one. Not as cold Thursday morning, but Friday morning into Saturday morning, we're making that transition back to a longer stretch of bitter cold here as we go towards Friday and into the weekend. So that's when we'll have a string of weather impact alert days, especially for Friday morning through Sunday morning. And then overnight lows warm up a little bit. We're close to 20 for the overnight low by Monday. That'll seem nice. We'll see in a few minutes. We'll talk about the other changes coming our way over the next few days.
All right, Scott. And tonight, dozens of schools have already called into our system to close or start on a delay tomorrow. The full list is running at the bottom of your screen. Just text the word closings to 314-425-5355. We'll send a link to your phone. Free road salt for city residents went fast during the weekend snowstorm.
And tonight, city officials blame commercial trucks for dipping into the large piles. 5 on your side's Laura Barczewski talked with disappointed St. Louisans, and she joins us live from the Weather Impact Storm Tracker.
Mike and Kelly, it really was such a bummer for those St. Louis residents who really needed the salt, because look at how the streets look right now. This is how they look out in front of people's homes. And they put 1.5 tons across all of those 5 places in the city. It would have been a perfect day to use it with the sun out and higher temperatures, making it more effective.
Friday morning ahead of the snowstorm, the city of St. Louis posted on Facebook they had 1.5 tons of salt at 5 different firehouses across the city for residents. All you had to do was bring a bucket.
This was a good faith effort on the part of the city to provide salt really across our communities. We had 5 different locations where you could come pick it up. It went fast, so we refilled it Saturday morning. That was available Friday. Went within a few hours. When we reloaded it on Saturday morning, it was gone in 30 minutes.
Enrique Von Rohr says he was able to get some of the very last of the salt at the firehouse on Manchester.
There was like a little tiny pile of it. So yeah, there was not a lot. I think like on the online, they said there was like a half-ton pile or something. So I was, I was driving on Manchester, and I sort of expected to see like a pile of salt. And there, I didn't see anything, and so I had to drive back and forth a couple times, and finally spotted like the little pile of salt next to the fire department there.
Susan Troiani and several other commenters on Facebook weren't so lucky. Susan tells me she went to 3 different locations and couldn't get any. The city's chief operating officer, Ben Johnson, says unfortunately that wasn't just because residents in need were quick to take advantage.
In many cases, it was the residents who maybe wouldn't have had access otherwise who were able to access it. We're really grateful for that. But we also had some instances of a commercial truck pulling up and filling up with salt, which is obviously not the intent. So we're going to make some tweaks to that. It was a pilot program. So not in this snowstorm will you see more salt coming out, but before future events.
Residents hearing that say it's incredibly frustrating because city resources are important.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I mean, that shouldn't happen.
If you're having trouble on your street, you can submit a Citizen Service Bureau report, get the report number, and give that to your alderperson, who can then get in contact with the Streets Department to better escalate the needs on your street. Reporting live from the Storm Tracker, Laura Barczewski, 5 on your side.
5 on your side will continue to live stream weather alerts until this deep freeze ends. You can just scan the QR code on your screen to download our free app. You can also get the latest weather impact forecast delivered straight to your phone anytime. Just text the word weather to 314-425-5355.
Hours ago, crews recovered the body of a 20-year-old man who fell through the ice on a frozen pond in Clinton County, ending a dangerous search that started more than 24 hours ago. Authorities say he was part of a group out goose hunting yesterday near New Baden, Illinois. The victim was rescuing his dog, who fell through the ice while retrieving a waterfowl.
He was able to pull the dog back onto the ice, but the dog went in again after his owner, and then after that, that is when the owner of the dog went underwater. His friends did try to get out there to help him out. They were able to pull the dog out of the water and into a canoe, just unfortunately lost sight of their friend.
Authorities have not released the victim's name.
Hours ago, U.S. Marshals arrested a Poplar Bluff man in connection with the murders of a St. Louis woman and her young daughter. The victims were found inside their burning home more than a month ago.
5 on your side's Robert Townsend's here now with more on tonight's new developments. Robert.
Kelly and Mike, today multiple law enforcement officers arrested the suspect at a home in Poplar Bluff. Now, investigators say he had been on the run for the murders of Latasha Brown and her little girl, Paige Buckner. On December 21st, it was a heart-jolting scene for everyone in this Walnut Park West neighborhood in North St. Louis. Police said firefighters found 45-year-old Latasha Brown and her 9-year-old daughter, Paige Buckner, shot inside their burning home on Floyd Avenue. Investigators say the fire was intentionally set. The mom and daughter later died from their injuries days before Christmas. Neighbor Reginald Hunt called 911.
Why would you shoot a woman and a kid? That's just not something I do not understand, period.
5 on your side has learned St. Louis police detectives contacted police in Poplar Bluff about the case. Poplar Bluff's police chief confirms his officers first tracked Latasha Brown's missing car at an abandoned house in their city. Detectives spent days looking for the suspect. Tuesday, U.S. Marshals, local and state officers arrested the 40-year-old man at a Poplar Bluff home without incident. They also arrested New Madrid County Deputy Lakeisha Miller for allegedly tipping off the suspect that authorities were coming to get him. Lisa Thomas says her sister and the suspect had been in a previous relationship. Now family members wait for the suspect to be charged and justice.
My mother shouldn't have to bury her grandchild and her daughter. My niece shouldn't have to bury her little sister and her mother.
Tonight, the suspect is in jail here in St. Louis. Tonight, we are not naming him because he has not been formally charged.
Tonight, St. Louis police are investigating a deadly shooting that happened inside a Soulard restaurant. The shooting happened yesterday afternoon inside the 8th Street restaurant that's located in the same building as the Soulard Market Lofts and right next door to Soulard Market. Police say 22-year-old Christopher Fry Pleasant was shot and killed. No arrests have been made. Anyone with information is asked to call Crime Stoppers. You can remain anonymous. The number is 866-371-TIPS.
The fallout continues tonight after the second deadly shooting in Minneapolis of an anti-ICE activist at the hands of federal agents. This as President Trump is shifting his tone, calling for an investigation into Alex Pretty's death. Just hours ago, protesters braved the frigid temperatures, marching through downtown St. Louis to demand an end to the federal immigration crackdown.
5 on your side's Brent Solomon was there and reports on the growing backlash.
This is what community looks like. bundled up against the bitter cold. Hundreds of people marching along Tucker Boulevard Tuesday night. Their anger fueled by recent events in Minneapolis, where an ICE agent fatally shot a 37-year-old nurse Saturday.
When you have a highly militarized force in your community, this is an inevitable outcome. These murders aren't accidents.
For those on the streets, the mission is about more than just one incident.
Our immigrant neighbors deserve to be here, be safe.
But the debate isn't one-sided. Legal experts say the crackdown is a response to real concerns many people have.
It's a continuation of the effort to really go into communities and find and extract persons who are in communities that potentially could be a threat to communities in terms of, committing crimes or having committed crimes.
Dr. Richard Middleton of SLU Law says the administration is specifically targeting sanctuary cities to ensure federal laws are upheld.
He saw them as the communities that were allowing persons who are unlawfully present in our country to be under the radar, so to speak. And he saw that those individuals were particularly sort of bad element in communities.
As police blocked streets for Tuesday's march, protesters say they aren't stopping here. They're calling for a nationwide shutdown on January 30th, urging supporters to skip work, school, and shopping. Brent Solomon, 5 on your side.
Protesters plan to gather daily in Minneapolis until federal agents leave. Meanwhile, Republicans in Washington have signaled they will not pull the Homeland Security budget from the upcoming funding bill, raising the risk of a partial government shutdown at the end of the month.
Drivers in the Show Me State moving closer to zero.
It takes all of us doing our part.
Tonight, the Missouri milestone in curbing deadly crashes.
Wicked wind chills again to start the upcoming weekend when we get a break from the worst of this bitter cold and how long it's expected to last.
One Missouri lawmaker wants students moving more, so a new House bill would require that students K through 12 get at least 60 minutes of physical activity every single school day, whether that's through PE or recess. Student athletes would be exempt, and there will be accommodations for students with disabilities. Now, supporters of this bill say that it'll improve physical and mental health, while critics question the scheduling of all of this. Now, this bill is currently under legislative review.
Tonight, MoDOT is reporting one of the lowest number of traffic deaths in years.
5 on your side's Melanie Johnson looks behind the data as leaders say one death is still far too many.
MoDOT marking a milestone for Missouri driver safety Tuesday.
This is the first time that we've experienced 3 years in a row of reduction in fatalities since 2019.
Missouri Highway Director Ed Hassinger leading a press conference at headquarters, announcing traffic deaths statewide down by 5%. 955 fatalities in 2024 compared to 911 in 2025.
It takes all of us doing our part to get there. That's how we're going to save lives. That's how we keep moving closer to zero.
John Nelson spearheading roadway safety, pointing to the Show Me Zero plan.
Put the phone down, drive sober, obey the traffic laws. Our road to zero fatalities will be much easier and much quicker.
A 5-point initiative focusing on safer people, safer vehicles, safer speeds, safer infrastructure, and a safer emergency response. As speeding and impaired drivers remain at the top of the list when it comes to causes for fatalities on Missouri roads, the Missouri Highway Patrol tells me they're still calculating the numbers to see if the hands-free law when it comes to cell phones played a role in the decrease in 2025.
If they would eliminate all their distractions, whether it's a phone, passengers in the car, eating, whatever that distraction might be.
Buckling up, proving to be the main factor in more than half of the fatalities.
Every year, about 60-65% of all of our fatalities are unbuckled. So just imagine the number of lives that could still be here today if they just took a second to put that seatbelt on.
Together, turning the corner toward a goal of zero fatalities on the road. Melanie Johnson, 5 on your side.
2022 was one of the deadliest years on record for the state of Missouri, with more than 1,000 people killed.
Just days before the one-year anniversary, the NTSB released new video tonight of the mid-air collision at Reagan National Airport between a passenger jet and a military Black Hawk helicopter. All 67 people aboard both aircrafts died, including several members of the U.S. figure skating community. Investigators identified a long list of contributing factors to the crash. And that includes ignored warnings from air traffic controllers about planes and choppers flying too close together.
There's no singular person to blame for this. These were systemic issues across multiple organizations.
We should be angry because for years no one listened. This was preventable.
The FAA has since restricted chopper flights around Reagan National.
Well, we're now just 10 days away from the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina, but some curling events actually begin just 1 week from tomorrow. The opening ceremony is Friday, February 6th, right here on 5 on Your Side, and organizers promise it to be the, quote, greatest show on earth. Final rehearsals are underway. More than 1,200 volunteer performers have been practicing since November 1st. Mariah Carey and Andrea Bocelli are among the big-name acts. 5 on Your Side is your home for all the action at the Winter Olympics in Milan Cortina. Our Corey Miller is flying to Italy on Friday. You can look for his live reports from the game starting next week.
All right, Chief Meteorologist Scott Connell is here with the weather impact forecast because tonight is going to be just bone-chilling cold.
Yeah, another one. Skies are clearing north of St. Louis. We still have some clouds metro area to the south. That's making all the difference in our temperatures right now. If you've been under that clear sky, don't have that deck of clouds, your temperatures have already tumbled. The rest of us are waiting for that to happen. Looking into downtown St. Louis, snow still on the ground. The winds, while they're still up a little bit, aren't as strong as they have been. We are now down to 18 degrees in St. Louis, but look at Kirksville where the sky's mainly clear. Over to Springfield where you have a mainly clear sky, already down to 2 degrees in those locations. Wind chills certainly below zero where there's any breeze off to the north and northeast of St. Louis. We are at 10 on the wind chill in town right now. Tomorrow morning, we're thinking we drop down to around 3, 4, 5 degrees in some spots, and then others will be closer to zero. We do warm pretty quickly as we head towards 9 o'clock, but the wind chills are still below zero early in the morning. And we still have some wind chill alerts here, cold weather advisory still in effect here off to the east of St. Louis for tomorrow morning. And that's really for those wind chills. Those are the areas where you're already seeing temperatures back into the single digits. You'll be right around zero tomorrow morning. Your wind chills could be as cold as 10 to 15 below zero. Tomorrow afternoon, we're around 30. Pretty quiet tomorrow afternoon. Thursday, we get extra clouds into the mix and the colder air starts filtering back in. So by Friday morning, Saturday morning, Sunday morning, the reason we have the weather impact alert there, once again, our temperatures dropping back down into the single digits, close to zero for early morning lows. Here's the next batch of Arctic air surging in as we head towards Friday and into the weekend. So that's more bitter cold. That also should flare up a storm system along the East Coast. We don't have to worry about that. But as we head into next week, there are a couple more disturbances that will slide our way. And as they do so, they could bring us a few snow showers here and there. But we will be at least a little bit closer to average. Not saying we're getting there next week, but at least a little bit closer. Tomorrow morning, wind chills should be just below zero. Friday morning, again, just below zero. And then Saturday morning is probably the worst of the wind chills for us. It could be similar to yesterday, depending on how cold we get and how strong those winds are. But that's why we have the weather impact alert specifically for Friday into Sunday. Got to have those extra layers and protect yourself. All right, you're looking at the cold air coming in on Wednesday. And as we go into Thursday, we'll get extra clouds into the mix and maybe, just maybe, a couple of snow flurries. Right now in St. Louis, looking at a temperature of 18, feels like 10. We did make it to 27 degrees today. Guess that's a good thing, right? Here's your next 10 days. Yeah, it's not too bad tomorrow afternoon, but tomorrow morning's pretty bitter, and then we're about 20 here on Thursday, in the teens for highs Friday, Saturday. Then we start to finally rebound here as we work our way on towards next week. We at least get back above freezing. There's a small chance some of us might tomorrow. There's a better chance on Monday, which happens to be Groundhog Day.
All right. Scott, thanks. Frank is next with sports.
Mike, we have it all tonight. The Billikens in a heart stopper. The Blues showed some heart against the Stars. And could Mizzou pull the upset at Alabama? Stick around. Sports is so much fun.
This 5 on Your Side Sports Report is sponsored by FanDuel Sportsbook. FanDuel is now available in Missouri.
Think of the greats in SLU history: Macaulay, Bonner, Claggett, Highmark, and Hughes. Yet none of them ever started a season 20-1. Tonight, if SLU could beat George Washington, it would be a first. That SLU pep band is out of sight, one of the best in the country. And here's one of the better shots of the night. End of the half, Quentin Jones with a bomb. Bills down 10 at the break. George Washington led by 13 at one time, but here's that one-man wrecking ball, Kellen Thames, for 2 of his 15 points. Coach Church said he won't recruit anybody under 6'3" unless you can shoot like Trey Green. SLU up 2, Green with 23. Next trip, Robbie Avila from 3, got it, SLU up 5. It's a 15-0 run. GW came roaring back to tie it. Then, final trip, let's go ground level, tied at 76. Kellen to Robbie, and this is why he's so special. The 3 to win it. Avila with 22. Billikens with a 20-1 record after a 79-76 victory.
I've been working throughout my entire career, being comfortable in that position, hitting those big time shots at, late game scenarios, is I think something that I pride myself for, not shying away from those big moments. Like I said, KT, drove the ball, drew 2 in, Castro was, sinking down on all those plays, blocking shots at the rim. And so, he had the selfless play to, draw 2, see me up top, kick it out. And, I hit the shot. And like I said, I'm going home happy.
Mizzou's situation is pretty simple. If you can finish 500 in the SEC, you have a decent chance to make the NCAA tourney. So just win your home games. But it would be a whole lot easier if you could steal one in Tuscaloosa tonight against 23rd-ranked Alabama. Dennis Gates and the Tigers coming off that Herculean effort against Oklahoma. Mark Mitchell is their best player. He takes it to the glass to keep it close in the first half. Alabama coach Nate Oates pulled off one of the shadiest moves of the year. He got Charles Bediako to come back to college after playing 2 years as a pro in the NBA's G League. There he was dunking. Is this crazy or what? Bediako got a temporary restraining order from an Alabama judge to allow him to play. He dunked himself to 14 points. Coach, take a deep breath. Alabama led by 13 at halftime, and by 26 at the end of the game, they win it 90-64. So, do you remember the Linda Blair line from The Exorcist? Please, mother, make it stop. This is the horrifying story of the St. Louis Blues. They entered tonight's game against the Stars with a 4-game losing streak and 31st in points in the NHL. This cute little girl wanted to exorcise the demons for the Blues. Here's one way: get physical, like Robbie Fabry. Third period now, Blues down 3-0. Here's Fabry, make it 3-1. Shortly after that, here's Braden Shen, make it 3-2. And we are not done. Shen again, and we are tied at 3. But with a little over a minute to play, Thomas Harley will beat Jordan Bennington. Oh gosh, Blues lose again 4-3. Very soon, 4 members of the AAA Blues youth hockey program will take the ice in Milan to represent the United States in the Olympics. The program creates professionals, and this year the U18 team captured perhaps the organization's most prestigious trophy yet, the Circle K Classic in Calgary against the best young players in North America. Congrats.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge tournament. It's probably the biggest U18 tournament in North America, and this thing's been going on for 48 years. And I think this is the first time a St. Louis team's won it. So, yeah, we've the last 3 years we've gone, and this year we were able to go and win. Not an easy tournament. You got to play 7 games in 6 days, so it's a lot of hockey and a lot of good teams.
That is awesome. The fire sale continues for St. Louis professional sports teams. City traded Klaus to the LA Galaxy for $2.37 million in cash. He was the team's top goal scorer with 27 goals over the last 3 years. But he was in the last year of his contract, and this does give City more financial flexibility. Arguably the best NFL coaching vacancy has been filled. The Buffalo Bills promoted offensive coordinator Joe Brady to head coach. Brady is 36 and has been with the Bills for 4 years. In that span, only one team has scored more points than Buffalo, and maybe most importantly, he's very close with Josh Allen, his quarterback. And that will do it in sports.
All right, Frank, thanks.
A hometown favorite is starring in a Super Bowl ad, and no, it's not the Budweiser Clydesdales.
Well, we're not going to...
Stand by.
You start.
Okay, if you watch what happens during the commercials of the Super Bowl, you'll catch St. Louis native Andy Cohen.
Today, Nerds Candy dropped the teaser of its ad starring the Bravo celebrity. Cohen tells People magazine it's a, quote, pinch me moment. The Super Bowl, of course, set for Sunday, February 8th, and you can watch it right here on 5 on Your Side. And Scott has a final check of our weather impact for you.
You know, grab the extra layers again tomorrow, the hat, the coat, especially in the morning. By the afternoon, it's not terrible. I mean, today we were in the upper 20s. Tomorrow we're around 30. That's, you know, by comparison, not too bad. And then you're talking temperatures in the teens here as we go into the weekend. Single-digit low temperatures the next few days, though, especially tomorrow morning, and then again by Friday morning, Saturday morning, and Sunday morning. Another cold weekend.
We need that snow to melt.
But there's a 41 there.
Yeah, I saw in a week there's a 41.
Yeah.
That would be very nice.
Yeah, we want the snow to melt, and soon.
There you have it, 5 on Your Side at 10. We're always streaming on your phone and smart TV.
Be sure to start your day with Today in St. Louis, and that starts at 5 a.m. Have a great tomorrow.